Hey there, all you beautiful Texans. Welcome back to the James Show. It's News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome back to the big show. I am your smarmy, condescending, sneering, elitist, Wikipedia-reading host, patronizing as well. If you have any comments for the show, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. You may have heard about the FEMA employee. She was fired after she was having the standard operating procedures for the teams that were handing out aid in the Florida hurricanes. She was saying, do not offer assistance to households with a Trump sign. We have it documented in text messages and emails and screenshots. And so she's been fired. I didn't want to make a big deal about it. In fact, I don't even think I've mentioned it on the show, maybe in passing yesterday. But she actually spoke out finally. And I thought, oh, good. She's going to say, I'm sorry. I was misunderstood. I'll never do it again. Can I have my job back? No, she doubled down. She's saying she's the victim. Donald Kimball, back on from Young Voices. Explain this to me. How does this lady think that she is the victim for denying federal help to people based on their political associations?
Well, thanks for having me back on. Yeah, her justification is that it's standard procedure that you practice avoidance first and then de-escalation with people who are off showing resistance. But of course, the absolute ridiculous thing about that claim is that the text didn't say, if you encounter resistance, skip houses with Trump signs. It was guilty until proven innocent. Just skip the households. They're probably going to offer resistance is the assumption there. So even when she's trying to say this is standard procedure, which, begs its own questions of how bad this actually is, her enforcement of that procedure was just to make the assumption that anyone who has a Trump sign is already guilty of offering resistance, therefore they're okay to skip.
So she got fired. She's not going to get another job in the government tomorrow, is she? Because a lot of times, who was that got? Oh, yeah. After the Trump shooting on July 13th, they were like, the head of the Secret Service steps down. But she still had a job in the federal government. Yeah,
there's a rather large revolving door between, different civil agencies. And so it's hard to say. Something tells me that someone like that will not actually have to pay for the mistake. I mean, they'll have to take the public heat for a while, but I think she'll probably end up being just fine off. For some reason, it seems like people who get the government jobs don't ever really seem to lose them somehow.
Well, also, her employment isn't going to be terminated till November 15th, I guess at the end of the pay period or something. So she's still on the clock right now. We're still paying her paycheck. That's pretty awful.
Yeah, well, I mean, hopefully, it stops then and she doesn't end up like one of those government employees in France who just stopped showing up to work and was paid out for 40 years of his life or whatever it was. But, I have to say shame on you for making this political, because clearly this is
right.
Your fault,
That's
as the
great.
media was telling us earlier this year.
Solid punchline there, Donald. Her name is Marnie Washington, and it's spelled M-A-R-N 'I. Now, you and I know, because of the standards of English punctuation, that when you use an apostrophe as a contraction, that is meant to replace some letters. What letters are being replaced there?
I don't know. I don't think I can comment what specifically. If people want to add their own flair from either maybe their culture or maybe just their own personal preference. I've heard worse. My wife and I are having our first kid, and our nurse just said that someone told the nurse that they were going to name their son Myconium. So maybe there are worse things out there.
Well, Myconium's fine. Does it have a random apostrophe in it?
Well, not as far as I'm aware, but maybe I didn't see it written. So
Myconium, that sounds like it could have been like a Byzantine emperor, it sounds almost Roman.
Yeah, unfortunately, the meaning is poop, but, we'll see.
The meaning means poop?
Yeah, it's a baby's poop, so people are weird about names, but we got to let them. Yeah.
I thought you were just saying that because it's a funny word. That's a real word for poop?
It is. So, all right, the real issue here, of course, with her is just, you have to accept responsibility, even if you were given the orders. When you're in a position of power like that, especially when people's lives are at risk, you have to take ownership. You have to apologize. And the fact she hasn't is really sad to see.
Do we think this is a widespread problem or just an isolated incident?
I think it is a widespread problem, even if it's not the exact same scenario throughout the whole government. I feel like this is just betraying the fact that every human is religious, whether they believe in God or not, but oftentimes politics fills that vacuum. And so when we live in a culture that's not celebrating the idea that every human is made in the image of God and that everyone has value, it's easy to make these sweeping claims like, oh, just skip the Trump supporters because, we can't save everyone. So therefore we can just lump these people who are worth less, and it dehumanizes them a little bit. And so I think that's really sort of permeated throughout our culture, and that's going to inform a lot of the political corruption, whether it manifests exactly like this or in other ways.
Now, that's interesting because in my notes here, I'm going to be talking about this idea of swearing off your family and how that's indicative of like a religion, because Scientology tells you if your family disagrees with you, swear them off, or, all these other, like a cult would tell you if your family's giving you a hard time or they don't agree with your new lifestyle, this is more important than your family. You need to go ahead and swear them off. But you brought it up here, and I think you're making a good point. Everyone's religious. It's just either are you worshiping a religion or a political ideology?
Yeah, well, as St. Augustine quote is, our hearts are restless until they find their rest in thee, meaning God. And so I think that people often do have that restless feeling and they don't know how to act on it. And so then they do feel it. And so doing things like disavowing your family, that can be a great virtue signal to others to say, I am holy. I'm making a sacrifice here in the name of whatever good they promote.
Yeah, and it feels like they're trying to one up each other. Oh, yeah, you shaved your head? Well, I swore off my own mother. Ha, ha, ha. All right, Donald Kimball, thanks for the poetic segment there. How do they find you outside of WBAP?
KimballDonald.com and Kimball Donald on X.
All right, thank you very much, Donald Kimball from Young Voices on the James Show. Appreciate your time, sir. Coming up next, that's what we're going to address here, this idea of you could swear off your family. Hey, listen, if your political ideology is telling you to swear off your family, is forcing you to swear off your family, maybe there's not something wrong with your entire family. Maybe there's something wrong with you. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I'm asking for people who've either sworn off their family or someone in their family has sworn them off. Because I have friends I'm old enough now, their kids are swearing them off. My kids aren't old enough to do that. They still play with stuffed animals and whatnot. But, adult kids swearing you off, I feel sorry for you, but also you raised them. What happened? 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. This is The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show, News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Welcome to the big show. If you got any comments to jump in on, 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. I was dismissing it for the first day or two, or 48 hours, 72 hours after the election. But I'm still seeing people put this out as recently as yesterday, the idea that you're supposed to swear your family off if they didn't vote the same way you did. And wow, that's kind of creepy. My last guest said it right, man. Everyone is religious. It's just if you're not openly seeking a religion, something has to fill that hole. And I've noticed for a lot of people, that has got to be politics. They are treating it like a religion. No political candidate is worth more to you than your family. Oh my goodness. You would swear off your own mom? So it's not just me saying that. This is a Yale professor on MSNBC as a guest on the Joy Reid show. And so I just wanted to pick someone who's not only, not just a rando off the street, because I think it's totally unfair if you pick a crazy random person out of the population and act like that's the mainstream of thought. And I don't think this is the mainstream of thought for our friends on the left. I think there's this wild-eyed woke segment of our friends on the left that has taken it way too far. Her name's Amanda Calhoun, and Joy Reid and her were talking about abandon your family for wokeness.
Someone voted that way. Do you recommend, just from a psychological standpoint, being around them? We got the holidays coming up.
So I love that you asked this question because, there is a push, I think just a societal norm that if somebody is your family, that they are entitled to your time. And I think the answer is absolutely not. So if you are going into a situation where you have family members, where you have close friends who have voted in ways that are against you, like what you said, against your livelihood, and it's completely fine to not be around those people and to tell them why, to say, I have a problem with the way that you voted. because it went against my very livelihood, and I'm not going to be around you this holiday. I need to take some space for me. And I actually talked to, adults as well as advising parents for children. I mean, I think, I don't think that you should force children. I don't think you should force adults to be around people just because they're your family. I think there's a level of need to establish boundaries. And if you feel like you need to establish boundaries with people, whether they're your family or not, I think you should very much be entitled to do so. And I think it may be essential for your mental health.
Okay, that's way off. That's teetering on evil right there. If you really thought your family was being duped into supporting Hitler, like even pragmatically speaking, if that fantasy was what's really going on in the real world, wouldn't the better advice be, hey, you need to go talk to them. You need to go talk to some sense into them. You don't need to take no for an answer. You need to be over there every day. You need to be on the phone. You need to be texting them right now. And you need to explain to them why they're wrong over and over and over until they get it. Not don't hang out with them. Because I suspect that the concern is if, the people on the left start hanging out with their family on the right, they're not going to be changing the mind of the family. The family's going to be changing their mind. And that's what happens. These young people that are just trying to step into the real world for the first time, and they believe the people on TV, and you start off left and you move to the right as you get older. They want to retard that process. They want to slow that down, if not calcify it and not make it happen. So the less time you spend with people that you've admired and have taken care of and loved on you for your entire life, the more time you spend with them having polite discussion about the issues of the day, the more likely you are to leave Team Blue. I think that's what it's about. And I think it's really sick when a cult does it. I think it's really sick when they tried to do it. Like, you shouldn't go home for Christmas if they hadn't had their vaccines. And if your family's not going to go get the vaccine, then you shouldn't let them in their house. How many times did they have to try and come between you and your family before you think you guys are sick? You are not that important to me. My mom and dad, my children, my cousins, they're all more important to me than some disease that I have a 99% chance of surviving anyway. They're all more important to me. I don't care who you voted for. Well, James, what if your mom voted for Hitler? I wouldn't swear her off. I'd have a chat with her. Mom, you voted for Hitler. You must not know what you're doing. You must not understand, because I know you're a decent person and you wouldn't vote for someone like that if they really were Hitler. So let's have a talk about it. And then we'd have a talk about it. I'm having a hard time imagining swearing off my kid. If my kid murdered like a whole kindergarten class, I would still go visit him in prison. I'd be like, what you did's wrong. You're probably going to get the death penalty pretty soon here. But you're still my kid. And if you need anything, I'm here. I don't know, give you some money in the commissary or whatever. You're a bad person. I condemn you. But I'm not going to swear you off. What in the hell? Hey, how bad does it have to be before you think, hey, something's wrong here? Let me just throw something out. Maybe, just maybe, if the people are telling you to swear off your family, they might have some ulterior motives. They might be in the wrong. What do you think? 800-288-9227. Jackie in Flower Mound, you're on WBAP. What do you think?
Hi. So this actually happened to my family. My brother-in-law texted my mother-in-law over the weekend and said that since she voted against him and his beliefs and voted against his rights, that he doesn't want anything to do with his family, his mom, his brother.
I hate to interrupt. I just want to get a whole lot of calls in. What rights is he talking about?
That I do not know. I would want him to elaborate, but he is 35 years old and has never worked in his life.
Oh, my God.
Him.
Okay. Well, that's starting to make more sense. Because he can't have an abortion. I mean, I know they think they pretend men can get pregnant, but the only right that anyone really lost was the right to have an abortion up until the moment of birth. Abortion is still kind of legal in most states. I just don't get it. And it's not even like they're taking the right away from you. They're just extending the right of you to before you were born, to not be murdered. Murder is always illegal. The discussion is, when do you think life starts? And so for all the people out there that are like, well, life begins when you're born. Okay, what about 1 minute before you're born? You think you can kill that baby? Or fetus, whatever you want to call it. And almost nobody agrees with that. But no one wants to have this gray area discussion because it's difficult. And I just can't imagine swearing off half your family for it. You think he'll come around?
That I do not know. The last thing I heard is he told my mother-in-law that she is just a person to him and not his mother. So her feelings are obviously very hurt. And to add insult to injury, my mother-in-law's brother also said the same thing. So it's been a rough weekend for my mother-in-law.
But you raised, not you, but the people that you're having your kids swear you off, you raised them. Why didn't you instill a little bit of political sense into them? And I know you don't have an answer for that. That's just my next question. Thank you very much. Let's go to Susie in Grapevine. You're next up on WBAP. We only have a minute. Tell me your story real quick.
I live in Texas. My sisters live in Oklahoma City and very Democratic, and have decided that because I voted for such a horrible human being in Trump that I'm not worth being around. And we're all senior citizens, by the way. This isn't.
Oh, these are grown-ups. They're supposed to know better.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I've been in Texas 40 years, and I've always been. I was always a Democrat until Trump ran for the first time, and I liked what he said. I liked the fact that he was a businessman, and I thought that would be a great possibility for the country, rather than people that were, not everybody, but a lot of politicians that were in it just to fill their pockets.
Thanks for sharing your story and voting for literally Hitler. There. Sorry you lost your friends over it, Susie. Here's what I've been doing. I went to dictionary.com. I took a screenshot of the definition of the word bigot, and it says a person who obstinately or unreasonably attached to a belief, opinion, or faction, especially one who is prejudiced against or antagonistic toward a person or people on the basis of their membership of a particular group. Congratulations, all you hardcore wokus swearing off your family. You just played yourself. You met the dictionary definition of bigot. 800-288-9227, 800-288-9227. Tell me about your disowning story on The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome back to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. If you want to be a part of the show, pick up the phone, 800-288-9227. That's the old way. All the cool kids are emailing me, james@wbap.com, or even more technologically recent, the Facebook message is a big player on the show. However you want to get your message to me, I'll try and I promise I read all the messages. I don't respond to all of them, partially because they're starting to pile up. Also, I'm kind of lazy. I'll own it. I like to use the word efficient. How about that? It's a much better adjective for it, isn't it? Walton, Cincinnati is making a good point. He says, did the right do this after the deteriorating bag of bones with cold oatmeal for brains won 4 years ago? Yeah, there wasn't a mass movement of Trump people swearing off their family, was it? They didn't shave their heads. They didn't go on a sex strike. Some people loitered through the Capitol for about 90 minutes before they were asked nicely to leave. That's about as bad as it got. What's been your experience? 800-288-9227. This is Cleo in Plano. You're on WBAP. Go.
Well, what happened to me was, it actually happened the last election. Our daughter stopped speaking to us.
Okay. Is this Cleo like Cleo and Angelo?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so
she stopped speaking to us over the last Trump election, the 2021, and we're 4 years in, and she's still not speaking to us.
You are a Republican, I would say activist. You know, you're active in your local Republican group.
Yes, and that's what she hates. She feels like I'm single-handedly responsible for the whole thing because of how active I am.
Right, but here's the logical paradox, Cleo. How did someone like you raise a daughter like that?
I don't understand, honestly. Our son's not like that. We've asked ourselves that 1,000 times. I don't know what happened. I mean, she always was kind of like, always felt like a victim and an outsider when she was growing up. I mean, even when that's really the only thing I could think about it. It's just personality. Because we did absolutely nothing different than with our son.
Man, I've been telling my kids since they were like 4 years old, hey, number one rule of life, kids. And they're like, what is it, Dad? Capitalism is better than socialism. Everything else kind of fits into that paradigm. And they're like, I don't know what that means, Dad. I'm like, that's okay. I'm just, conditioning you. I don't want to have to I don't want to be disowned when they get older. I don't want them to go to college and be like, I think I'm a Marxist now. I
think college had a lot to do with it, in all honesty. She's pretty normal. Then we sent her to Texas A&M, and And she left there, and then she went to, oh my God, the one with the Roadrunners.
UTSA.
San Antonio. Yeah, UTSA. And then it really got bad there. She just fell in with a Marxist crowd. And she would lecture us every time we were at dinner and stuff. And then the 2020 election, she just felt like, we were irresponsible because we wouldn't wear masks, and we were, endangering people, and we were spreading a false ideology. And Trump, is really bad for the country. And she just, it's been 4 years in, and we have to see our grandkids. Thank God she's divorced through her ex.
You're scaring the crap out of me, because if it can happen to you, it can happen to anybody, Cleo.
Well, it did happen. And so this nonsense that they've been doing has been going on for a while. This isn't the first election they've done this. They honestly did start at the last election, and we aren't the only people I know that's they're like 4 years in.
All right. Well, Cleo, good luck with that. I have a feeling eventually she'll come around, don't you think? Maybe?
No, it's been 4 years.
Dang.
We have to see our grandkids through their dad.
Well, how old is she?
She is 34 now.
Oh, so she's already paying taxes and has a mortgage and everything.
Yeah.
Oh, well, maybe she's a lost cause. Well, it was nice having a daughter.
Yeah.
Hope she comes around, Cleo. Sorry about that. Thanks for calling.
That's okay. Okay, bye.
Mike in Keller, please tell me a better story than Cleo just told me.
James, I wish I could. We've been kind of disowned by my in-laws, and my sister.
Oh, hang on. Now you need to tell me the secret of that. How you get disowned by your in-laws? Because I'll do that on purpose.
We voted for Trump.
Oh, now see, my in-laws like Trump. That's not going to do it.
We tried. We tried. We said, well, what do you not like about him? We just don't like Trump. I went, oh, so you don't like the mean tweets? And it was like, no. And it was like, come on, please, really? It's got to be something better than that.
Mike, did you really put up a fight, or were you like, oh, no, mother-in-law, don't disown me. I want to talk to you on a regular basis. That would be awful if I never had to talk to you again.
I put up a little bit of a fight. Come on now.
I hear you. All right, Mike.
My wife did put up a good fight, but it just, it's like, whatever. I can't. I'm not going to convince you. If you think it was better under mashed potato brains, then okay.
Man, I got an uncle who's an absolute Bernie bro. He's an avowed socialist. We hang out. We don't care. I mean, not all of them are like this, but the ones that are, stop it, y'all. It's really not that important. It's really not. Thank you, Mike. Sorry about your issue there.
You're welcome.
All right, I'm going to squeeze in one more. Dolly in Hillsborough. Tell me a better story than I just heard from Mike and Cleo.
I don't associate with people who would vote for Biden, but I'll tell you what happened to that girl's daughter. You guys were touching on it. She sent them to college. Do not waste your money sending the children to college. You're going to send...
I know, Dolly, that's easy to say, but my nephew is going to become a mechanical engineer. He's getting his master's degree at A&M. How else does he do that but go to college, Dolly?
I don't know. Don't they have trade schools anymore? Apprentice to
They do
whatever?
have trade schools, but trade schools don't get you a master's in mechanical engineering.
Can you do this stuff online to lessen your teachers' influence on you and all of the students? I mean,
I don't know.
My
Dolly,
sister-in-law sent 2 kids, and they ended up homosexual and woke.
Both of them?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
I think it has to be a personality thing, because I was me before I even got involved in the politics. I always pushed back against my teachers. Just tell a quick story here, Dolly. When I was in college, I'll even tell your name, Professor Dodd, Patricia Dodd. I remember her forever because she was absolutely beautiful, number one, but she would always come up and just insert into world literature these obvious political tropes, and I would push back on it. Not that I even knew what I was talking about, but when she would say, like men and women are equal, and I'm like, well, what do all the Olympic records say? Just things like that. There's no biological difference between men and women. Well, how come we're on average taller? I would always push back. Like, not only did it not sink in, I actually enjoyed the debate. I was like, oh, good. I've never met people who are, this much of a space cadet. This is hilarious. I thought you people only existed on TV. Oh, you really think socialism is better than capitalism? Explain the Berlin Wall. What happened there? Who was tearing it down? Who was the wall put up to keep people from going to the east to the west, or the west to the east? Was it 100%? How do you explain Cuba? Has anyone in Florida ever cobbled together a raft made of trash and pushed off so their family could hopefully make it to Havana? It's not like 50-50 or 60-40 or 90-10. Has there been one? I always enjoyed that. I thought college was great for that. I was like, hey, we finally get to have good open debate and an exchange of ideas. And I don't know. Maybe it's devolved quite a bit since then. I imagine it has. 800-288-9227. I'm James Parker. It's The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. Hey there, welcome to The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3. And no matter what your political persuasion may be, I hope you don't lose your kids over it. And it's wrong when it goes both ways. The lady that, what was that, Dolly from Hillsborough, that said she doesn't associate with people who voted for Biden? That's wrong, too. It's not that big of a deal to talk to people who you strongly disagree with politically. But I'm kind of wondering how widespread this is. I assume, and I'm projecting here, that no one really thinks politics is more important than the people who raised them from birth, especially if you had good parents. Like, if your parents I had good parents that never abused me. I don't care who they vote for. I can't see myself disowning them. And then I have 4 kids. And when they grow up, if one of them disowned me, I would be crushed if that happened. I'd probably cry. In fact, I know I would cry like a little baby. I like my kiddos. I miss my kiddos. What's your story? 800-288-9227. 800-288-9227. This is Blanca in Dallas. You're on WBAP. What's your story?
My story is my coworker disowned me, which is actually a good thing. It's always nice when the trash takes itself out.
Co-workers, plural or just one?
Well, plural, but one in particular has made it very evident where we would follow each other on Instagram. We would hang out. I voted for Trump. She was totally liberal, woke liberal, and always respected her views and, vice versa. So after the elections, I get blocked on Instagram. And then first day on Monday when I come back in the office from traveling at work, it's just a Sour Patch Kid face. Won't look at me, just
right.
Is disgusted. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever been more efficient at work than this whole week. So it's been amazing.
Well, it's beyond just being butthurt when you're like separating friends. And I used to brag about my job. Hey, what do you do for a living? Oh, I'm a talk radio host, because I thought it was cool. I thought it was like a job of status. And then after I remember the one time that I changed that. I was in a kickball league, and no one really knew what I did for a living. Where do you work? I'm on the radio. But the people on other teams and stuff have no idea who I am. But you would still associate them after parties. And there was a girl I was friends with for like 3-4 years. Her name's Stephanie. She found out what station I worked at, stopped talking to me immediately. I came up and said hi to her. She just turned around and walked off. And I looked at my friends. I was like, what happened? And one of my friends told me she found out where you work. And I was like, oh, so it's like that. So I have to worry about some of my friends. If they find out what I do for a living, they cease being my friends. Now, that's petty. That's childish. I don't understand it. But I really don't understand a family connection. I understand maybe jettison an acquaintance here and there, but your own your own flesh and blood. Wow, Blanca. Wow.
Yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like I've always been respectful of her feelings and her opinions, even though I didn't agree with them. But if it got to this point, it's like, you know what? I'm glad you did this because this is nothing I need to be around. I'm too grown for it.
That's a great response. I'm too mature for this childish game. But right. The other thing that bothers me is there really are people out there that think that me and you are racist, sexist, bigot, homophobe, fascist, literally Hitler. Based on
what?
This.
If that's the case, then consider me and you and everybody else like this an equal opportunity racist, because that's just ridiculous.
Well, it stopped hurting my feelings because I've recognized that they don't actually hate me. They don't even know me. They just hate this caricature that's been painted of us by what they've been told by people on TV and their professors and their other bluey friends and stuff that they see online. So they don't actually not like us. They don't know us well enough to understand that, duh, I'm not a fascist. I'm not literally Hitler. I would not fit in well with the fascist model anyway. But thanks for your story, Blanca. That's kind of sucks.
Thanks.
Right.
No, I'm okay. Thank you, though.
Thanks. That's Blanca in Dallas. Kind of enjoying having a little free time, having a little more of her personal space. All right, that's going to about do it for the James Show today. Thank you for all the people who are sending in all the emails. I only got a few callers in, but apparently this is bigger than I thought. There's a lot of people who've been sworn off based on your vote for Donald Trump. I don't know. Maybe we need to do a segment. I'll do a little research and say, how can we bring these people back around? Or is there some way to win these people over? Because it's also been your observation, I'm sure, is the people that were the strongest liberals when they were young end up being some of the strongest conservatives whenever they do make that switch. You know, it's the conversion phenomenon. You know, the strongest Christians out there are often the ones that converted well into adulthood, you know, like a Saul turning into Paul or whatever. But you have some of the great ones. You know, Thomas Sowell said that when he was in college, he was a Marxist, and now he is probably the greatest conservative thinker, at least in economics, alive right now. So I don't know. I still hold out a little bit of hope. I don't think all is lost. But if you need some more of the James Show, go check out the James Show podcast, WBAP.com, the WBAP app, wherever you already listen to podcasts. Type in the James Show. It'll probably come up. Check it out. Follow it. Share it. Live it, love it, learn it, whatever he said on Fast Times at Ridgemont High. I'm James Parker. This has been The James Show. News Talk 820 WBAP, now on FM at 93.3.